Hey basketball coaches and players, today I am going to be breaking down Ja Morant's basketball shooting form. He is one of the best shooters in the league right now and one of the biggest up-and-coming players. So let's check out Ja Morant. Okay, so let's take a really far in-depth look at Ja Morant's basketball shooting form. First, we're going to start with his feet, and then we are going to build up into his set point. So what we have right here is that his right foot is slightly in front of his left, which is going to give him power but also accuracy on his shot. We also see that his right foot is slightly turned inwards but not a lot. We also see that in this shot he has his shoulders in line with his knees, in line with his toes, and that's going to give him the stability to have a nice straight shot. From there we see that his knees are bent roughly 90 degrees, and he generally does that as well in game, coming off of his dribble or off of a pass. And when he gathers that ball, he gathers the ball usually in front of his hips, as we see here, with his hand on top of the ball. And as we can see with his hand right now, his hand is starting to get wider on the ball. And he does have a wide hold on the ball. The hand is spread out, and you really do want to do that because you're going to have more control over that ball. From there, what we do see when he brings that ball up, there's not much bend in his elbow. And what I mean by not much bend, he is bent at a 90-degree angle, but when he brings it up, the only hinge that he has is the shoulder, and you really want to have the least amount of movement in your shot, and that's how you can do that, is by not bending the elbow when you're bringing the ball up. You're only bending the shoulder. And why this is important is the less movement in your shot, the less things that can go wrong again with your shot. We also do notice that the elbow is slightly out from underneath the ball, which generally speaking usually means that the ball will be shot left of where you are aiming. However, there's a few things that we do need to look at in Ja Morant's shot. When Ja Morant came into the NBA, he was a chest shooter. Now he shoots, his set point is from right in front of his right eye, maybe just slightly above his right eye, as we see right there. And from there, what happens is when he starts bringing that ball up, the elbow starts to move underneath that ball. Again, unneeded movement, but at the same time, I'm assuming that a lot of coaches on his team are starting to really work, because obviously they've already worked on bringing the ball from the chest to above the head. What's happening now is they're probably starting to work on getting that elbow in, which makes it a little bit more of a straighter shot. However, at the same time, we can see with that offhand that he actually pushes a little bit right there, we see, which then pushes the ball off of the ring finger and middle finger. We see that right here, where the middle finger and ring finger are the last fingers to touch the ball, which now basically forces the ball back towards the left side, basically equaling out the force of having the elbow push the ball out towards the left, and then between the thumb and on this hand, as well as the middle finger and ring finger on this hand, equal out on equal force, which allows that ball to go straight. This is a very similar shooting form as Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry, who uses a little bit of that thumb. However, Ja Morant does shoot at a 33% three-point percentage, which tells us that yes, he is shooting over the minimum 30% to make it a worthwhile shot, but I really do think that if he was to bring that elbow in, he may be able to raise that percentage to 40%. However, this is something that you would do in the off season, which they do not have really all that much of this year. So I would suggest that he probably keeps his shooting form most likely until probably next year, and he'll probably change it again, as he's already changed it from going off his chest to now going from the forehead. Now, when we look at his follow through, his left hand does stay up, and then he does flick and really does flick hard. Some players will flick down and then bring the wrist back up, but he keeps that hand flick. There was a little saying that a coach of mine used to say way back when I was younger, and he was saying, well, picture that there's a shelf and a cookie jar, and you cannot reach the top shelf all that well, and you are trying to reach over the top shelf to try and pick up any cookies. And that is essentially what you're trying to do. However, at the same time, we look at his elbow as well, and his elbow is above his eyes and forehead, which is going to give him the arc on his shot that is needed. You really want to have a lot of arc on your shot. He keeps his shooting form, or at least his follow through, up for a few seconds, and then they drop, and the ball goes in as well. We also see on his set shot, at least in warm-up, that he doesn't drift all that much. He may only drift 2 or 3 inches forward on his shot, and you really want to do this. You don't want to drift out forward too far, or else your shot is inherently going to be long. You don't want to jump backwards all that much, because of course then your shot's going to be short. But also, on top of all of that, you don't want to drift left or right, because of course that's going to make your shot go left or right. I also do notice that he has very little, if not no gap at all, when he goes to shoot that ball. There is really not that much gap. Now, I know a lot of players will have success when it comes to shooting with no gap between the palm and the ball. However, the downfall to it is you do lose a lot of control over that ball. If somebody was to hit your elbow or your offhand, it would lose a lot of control on that ball, and you can miss more shots. So with Ja Morant shooting a 33% three-point shot, I wouldn't be surprised if that's one more thing that they may try to teach him in the future. However, at the same time, players like Steph Curry also don't shoot with a space between the ball and the palm while they're shooting free throws, but in game, we've broken this down in previous videos that they do have a gap in game. I hope that this video has helped you understand Ja Morant, but also helps you become a better shooter in basketball. If it does, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time.